Going live. Oh my gosh. Okay, Scott, let me know when we're live. Oh, we are live. Hi, everyone. It's Allison Bird, and I'm so excited we are here. Oh my gosh, we are here for Juneteenth. I am so grateful for this opportunity. I want to first welcome you into the space and set some expectation and some tone for us to have a great time. First of all, can we give a shout out to my amazing co hosts? We have Makosi, we have Jakari, we have Trudy. I'm so happy and grateful that you're here. And they're going to introduce themselves to you in just a second. But I want to set the atmosphere so that you can have aligned expectation. So if you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, here's what I want you to understand. Number one, I am not responsible for the Juneteenth history lesson of all time. So I want to say that everyone that's on here, if you have knowledge that we don't share, that we don't know, that's your role. In the comment section, light it up. But my encouragement is that it's not about what we don't know, it's about the answer you were meant to bring. Because if you have the knowing, that means you're the one meant to bless this entire village and this entire community. So I want to just take that weight off of my shoulders. Trudy, Jakari, like just take the weight off of our shoulders to be the answer for all of Juneteenth, because there's no way that we can. The next thing that I want to put on the table is I nor anyone else on this panel can represent all of Blackness. We can't. We cannot represent every aspect of our stories because we have lived such big existences over hundreds and thousands of years. And so I want to set the expectation that this conversation is just that. It's an opportunity for us to open up a dialogue that too often has been concealed away and not brought into the space that it could be unified or co-create unity. So today, I want you to feel this sense of community. I want you to feel connected. I want you to feel valuable. I want you to feel included. All races, all genders, all unique expressions of humanity. We all came here today because we are living the dream that many of our ancestors never even knew would become possible. So, as long as we have that energetic set, as long as you're ready to smile, you're ready to feel, you're ready to laugh, you're ready to trust new information, new insight, new ways of perception. That's how we grow and that's how we learn. So, my sweatshirt is very intentional right now because it says equality is greater than division. So, this conversation is designed to support us to move the needle forward for equality. So, now I want to welcome my incredible guests so that you get to meet them. And I think that it's really valuable to ask humans how they want to introduce themselves. I could read each and every one of our resumes, but you can find all of that on Google. I promise you can. I promise we've been featured. I promise you can look at news outlets and learn more about us. I promise you that. And I also promise you that our highest commitment in this exact moment is to support your mind, is to support your heart, your soul, your spirit, your understanding, to simply embrace something that you may not have ever known about before. Or if you've been Black all your life, like me, maybe you didn't grow up in the South. So maybe Juneteenth wasn't a big celebration for you. Maybe it wasn't a big knowing. Or maybe you just want to learn the way that we, as people of color, as Black Americans, what our expression is around this conversation. So now I want to welcome up my incredible colleague, Trudy LeBron. Trudy, I want you to take a moment and introduce yourself to this audience. You are a best-selling author. You have been leading movements since you were a teenager. And your story is just absolutely priceless. Introduce yourself to this village and tell us who you are and why Juneteenth matters for you today.
Thank you. So I am a writer, an entrepreneur, a coach, and for most of my career, a diversity, equity, and inclusion educator. And I see Juneteenth in particular as a educator, as a diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism educator, as a day for me to work. So I know that there are lots of folks who have taken today off, and deservedly so. But because my blackness is by way of Puerto Rico, my father is a black Latino. I see today as my contributions for today is to be working, is to be showing up into community, in community with other people, and to be doing the work to support others. So I am super happy to be here today, that you've invited me to take up space and join you on this panel. And I want to give as much time to the other folks on this panel as well.
Oh yeah, we're going to share. We're going to share time and space. Thank you for that. Thank you for the history that you have lived in your own reality. Thank you for your education. Thank you for your knowing that you bring to the table. Thank you for the diversity that you reflect. I'm so happy and grateful that you're here. Jakari Harris, I'm so excited that you're here as well. And I want our audience to know you. You have so many accolades behind your name already at such a young age. And also, you have so much that you've lived through. I am constantly impressed by what you've overcome, what you overcame in your childhood, and then now as a young adult, how you continue to overcome and show up in society. Introduce us to you. And would you be kind enough to tell a little bit of your childhood background?
Definitely, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Allison. It is such a pleasure to be here today with such a phenomenal panel. I mean, of Black thriving women. My name is Jakari, born and raised Tallahassee, Florida. Currently live in Houston, Texas, and I was a former foster youth turned adoptee. And I'm just a man that is I'm a change agent. I thrive off of how can I make a difference, not just in my home and my world, but beyond the community that I live in. And that's just what I've been doing ever since I decided to put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward despite life obstacles and issues and headaches and mishaps. And just most recently, I had the honor to serve as the executive director of the George Floyd Memorial Foundation, founded by George Floyd's family in May of 2020 after his his death. And I'm here today, bold, strong, courageous, doing some good work in the community. I'm a professor as well. I have a book out. It's called Lost and Found, Finding Success in the Search for Self, that speaks about how you can rise above life issues and begin anew. And today, Juneteenth, is just a day, like my colleagues just said, to educate, to teach others, to show others the work that has been done, but to show them too the work that needs to get done. Because the truth of the matter is, many people still aren't free. And I just look forward to speaking more about that, and how slavery has never been fully abolished in the U.S., but we have more work to do, and we have to start with us. So, like my shirt says, is I am the change. And just my hope that you will continue to be the change too. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you so much for that. It's been an honor to be a voice, a mentor, a guide in your reality. And I remember when George Floyd was publicly executed. And I said, I want to make a difference for that family. I want to make a difference for that community. I want to make a difference for that collective. And I had no idea how I would ever get connected. And I remember getting an email from you, and I just wanted to fall to the floor. But like, there's no way that that just happened. And it did. And now we get to share time and space together. And I'm so grateful for the change that you continue to present to our world. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see. And too often we hold that statement so trite, as though we aren't the ones that are meant to be the advocates and the allies for change and transformation. And as Barack Obama said, progress in our society. So, welcome to the panel. I'm so glad that you're here. Makosi, known as the Royal Shaman. Now, y'all, I want y'all to just do like this, like as though you're getting a seatbelt, and click it in, because you heard from Trudy. You heard from Jakari, and now Makosi. This woman and her power, her potency, her passion, her conviction, and the way that she chooses to reflect her essence, and hyper specifically her Black essence in our world, continues to create awe for me. And so, Makosi, I'm so excited that you said yes to being a part of this. Will you please introduce yourself and your greatness to our world?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me to this incredible panel. I know we're going to have some incredible conversations. Just a little bit about me. I grew up in small town southern West Virginia. My mom was a single teen mom of two. And I remember at a very young age coming up against the statistics about what life was supposed to look like for me as a young mixed woman. And here I am presenting as Black in quite racist, small town West Virginia. And immediately I decided that that was not going to be me. All of those statistics became my unconscious enemy. So I really spent so much of my time, so much of my life in striver mode, in Black excellence, in overachieving. And it wasn't until I got everything that everyone says you're supposed to want, and it makes you a good Black woman, that I realized actually this isn't fulfilling for me. And that catalyzed my spiritual journey. I ended up spending 5 years in initiation, traveling to and from Africa, returning back to the motherland and really understanding all that we had been through from a different lens than I had been taught in school. And so now, coming out of the other side of that, I'm very passionate about what freedom actually means, whether we are just taking on someone else's perspective of freedom and if that actually serves us. So these days, I spend most of my time as a consciousness catalyst, really kind of provoking, provoking and triggering people to ask better questions and really live a life that is true to their authentic essence.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Welcome to the panel. Welcome to each and every one of us. Let's get into it. So I want to start first with judgment. And I want to start off with when holidays come around, whether they're for Black people, Asian people, queer people, white people don't know what to do. They don't know what to post. They don't know what to say. They feel disempowered. They fear cancel culture. They feel like they have to start doing history lessons that they don't understand. And I think that the reason I want to bring this forward is because of that. They have to start Googling because none of us were educated in the truth. What do you guys have to say about that? Like, who wants to jump in on the none of us were educated in the truth? White people Googling, Black people running to their grandma talking about, well, now tell me what happened one more time. Tell me exactly, like, we don't even know all of the truth. Makosi, you just said I had to go to the motherland to define Blackness for myself because the way it was defined for me, I didn't like it. And you couldn't eject. What were you going to Michael Jackson your skin? It just was not going to work out. Like, you had to figure out a solution. So, and we all know Michael Jackson colored his skin lightly. So that's just true. And we all saw it happen. So let's just own that. Because he said, I'm going to drink my water.
That's a whole nother panel.
Somebody jump in and answer a question, whatever the question is. Who's jumping in?
First, Allison, I didn't think you were going to go there, but I'll let someone else jump in.
Y'all know I'm going to go for truth. And here's what I really want this live stream to do is to help us cancel culture. because I don't know everything about my Blackness. Why am I expecting my colleague who's non Black to know everything about it? Why am I holding them accountable to that? Or am I holding them accountable to something else? Trudy, I feel your energy coming at me. Come on.
Yeah, right. So here's the problem, right? The problem is that we have a lot of how can I say this? There's a lot of inconsistencies in like kind of pop culture wisdom around what people should know and should do and should say. And so what we saw and what we continue to see with cancel culture is this idea that that there is a right way, right? That people are supposed to know exactly what to say. And so when people are trying to accommodate groups like, oh, you should say this, you shouldn't say that, or you should know that, or you shouldn't talk about this because of your identity, because there is no unified agreement even among like anti-racist practitioners and anti-oppression and justice folks. Even there is no consistency there. So how are people to ever come to a place where they feel like they know what to do? That is actually what's encouraging people to opt out of the discussions altogether.
Ooh, I love the way you say that. So you've written the anti-racism business book. Like you're the GOAT. So what like you literally wrote the book
I did
titled
write a
the
book. I sure did.
Anti-Racism Business Book. And so the question becomes then, how do we begin to take responsibility for these measures of, for these nuances of history that no one really knows how to talk about it? It are forums like this the move where we just get on and start saying, well, what do you know? Well, what do you know? Well, what oracle of knowing do you have? And can we put those things together and start really piecemealing our understanding so that we can co-create unity? Is that the way we do it?
I mean, that's certainly a part of it, right? There's only so far that sitting and talking is going to get you. What you find in the book is that I'm calling for actual policies and practices and behaviors and new ideas to be adopted, right? It's not enough to just sit and talk and think and kind of like theorize over how we get there. We have to actually practice it. So people have to be together. They have to be building businesses, communities, homes, all
But
all kinds of
I
things.
think that's where people get scared.
Yeah,
I
it's
think that's where people
for
get
sure.
scared. I think we have forgotten we are builders of society.
Right.
Right, we forgot we're the makers. We just decided, oh, I'm just going to exist here, but we're the makers. And Makosi, you said something earlier. Not only did you talk about Blackness was not fulfilling for you, but you said that the statistics of Blackness became your unconscious enemy. And so now today, you definitely do not reflect Blackness as society has seen it. You are a multi-million dollar business leader. You are in your Jesus year 33. You're in your Jesus year 33. And you lead a team. You've employed your mother. You pulled your son out of school, decided to homeschool him while also leading this so that you could take charge of his character. I mean, you have really made a decision that you're going to rewrite what Blackness and power and wealth is for you. Talk to us about that. Where did you get that confidence, that courage, and how can someone follow your footsteps from all walks of life?
You know, it really started from me being a very opinionated little girl. I had opinions about everything and what everyone else should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And ultimately, I came to realize that on this thread of judgment, I was setting expectations and judging everyone else as a reflection of my own thoughts, opinions, perspective. So I realized, well, the only way that we create legacy is through our decisions, our actions, the words that we speak every single day. We don't go and create a legacy tomorrow or when we die. We're creating a legacy right now. So just like the phrase, I am the change, right? Be the change that you wish to see. I took that very practically and very literally. I started self reflecting. Number one, where am I holding myself to certain expectations that don't actually serve me or aren't actually aligned with the truth of who I am? And then I allowed for that to start spreading through my life, through my relationship with my husband, through motherhood, in my business. I do things quite unconventionally, not because I'm at this point rebelling against those statistics, which I was, but now bringing a level of consciousness to, okay, these are two extremes, but either extreme ultimately creates chaos, destruction, division. Let me tune into what actually is in integrity for me, what actually matters. And I started living from my deathbed. I literally, when I'm making certain decisions, I immediately go to my deathbed and I start looking back on this moment and playing out, okay, a few steps ahead, if I make this decision, what ultimately is the result? So I put all of the focus on myself, on who I'm being, how I'm showing up in these various areas, and that's been creating an impact. Do I have ideas of what people could do? Maybe, but ultimately, I don't want anyone to be doing things to just look like they care or look like they're knowledgeable, right? Ultimately, what we want is people who are conscious about various things, but that has to come from an inner desire, an inner curiosity. And oftentimes, like, you're not gonna see it unless you know that person intimately. And even then, sometimes it isn't always obvious. It's not always something you're going to be talking about over dinner.
Mm. I love the candidness in which you express, and I want to say to everyone that's just jumping on this live stream, welcome. This is the first time ever that I've had the joy and the liberation and the internal permission myself to host something on Juneteenth. My name is Allison Bird, and I've been in the digital marketing world for 13 years, and I lead a business as a virtual CEO in an industry that is less than 8% Black, which means when it comes to holidays like Juneteenth or it comes to months like Black History Month, there's no one to speak up and out about it if it's not us. And for many years, I have looked to my non Black colleagues and wondered when they would show up for the conversation. And what I realized is that we're the ones responsible to show up for this conversation. And so I'm happy and grateful for everyone that will watch this in the replay, for every one of you that are live with us. Let us know where you're from. What's your city? What's your state? What's your country? If you're outside of North America, what's your province? I know we've got parts of Ireland on. I know we've got countries in Africa. I know we've got Australia in the spot. Like, we've got such a beautiful, diverse audience that's on. Light up the comment thread and let us know where you are from. And I also want to encourage you that if you know someone that it would add value to their path right now, send them this link and tell them, hey, these amazing humans are being generous and benevolent, and they're giving and they're showing up and they're talking about Juneteenth, and you want to be a part. Hit the share button. We grow by giving ourselves permission to unify. We grow by giving ourselves permission to start something. And so today we're starting a conversation. Jakari, I want to come your way because what Makosi just shared was that there were misaligned expectations that she had to fade out in order to embrace her next level of becoming. She used the language Black excellence, which for us, many times that meant work harder than anyone that was not Black, show up extra early, leave extra late, which means we were the hardest workers. That was what we were taught inside of our home. Now, as I say that, no one come for me. I'm not saying that if you aren't Black, that you were not a hard worker. I am talking from our particular come from, like what was our historical context? And that exhausted us. So I have a question, Jakari. As a Black man that you stepped into the fire. George Floyd was publicly executed. You stepped up as the executive director for the foundation, trusted by the family. And now you are a voice of leadership, of social activism, of professional development, of personal growth. How did you become this version of yourself? And what do you feel is your responsibility as this version of yourself to speak up and to speak out in society?
Thank you, Allison. Such an amazing question. Well, first, I have to say that I had to take some time to unlearn. Usually, people say, I had to take some time to understand, not unlearn. People usually say unlearn to relearn, but first, I decided to understand that some things that I was told growing up, it's not always right. Some things that I'm thinking right now, it's not always right. And I had to understand that my past cannot determine my future, and that I had to understand that sometimes my thoughts or what people project on my life is not right. So I had to understand before I actually unlearn, because oftentimes we as humans, we try to just jump to say, you know what, I need to forget about that and then move on. They say, you're supposed to go to grade school, go to college, get a degree. Like that's what we had to grow up understanding. Oh, this is what you need to do. But sometimes that's not the case, because I know many successful people who did not have to go to college to be a millionaire or to own a business and things of that nature. So for me, I had to understand who I am as a person, and I could not allow my identity, my authentic self, my true self to be something that I'm not. And from there, it's when I unlearned those practices that wasn't in my best interest for now, for my future. And then I had to relearn to be a better man, not just for myself, because it's not about me. It's bigger than me. It's not just about my mom or my brothers, my siblings. It's bigger than me. Because what I do know to be true is when I was birthed in this world, I was birthed with greatness, and we all were. And just because you're great does not mean other people can't be great. So how can I spread that greatness amongst everyone I meet and touch and impact, things of that nature? So as a Black 27-year-old man, I had to understand that everything that I was taught wasn't right, or practically learned sometimes was not right. Because I believe in grade school and things of that nature, I didn't learn everything I was supposed to learn, or things they said was not 100% correct, because at one point I did think that slavery was 100% abolished in the U.S., but it's really not. And then when we get to that, I'm really going to explain that. But as a Black man, I'm learning every single day that there's more to life than what we truly think. And oftentimes we think of the negativity, we think about the trauma, the past, the hurt, the mishaps, which is it's okay to think about. But you also have to move forward, because if you stay complacent, if you stay in that fog mindset, if you stay depressed, stay with anxiety, you cannot move forward and become the true authentic person that the Creator has created us to be. And if we're speaking about being free, being liberated, and things of that nature, it starts with yourself. You cannot change your community. You can't change other people. You can't change policy and legislation unless you first change yourself, change your mind, change the way you're thinking, change what you're doing, changing your eating habits, whatever it is. You have to change yourself before you can go out and change other people. And I always remember my mom used to say, what goes on in this house stays in this house, things of that nature. And for me is, we have to first keep what's in our house within our house. That's what my mom used to say. And for me, what I'm thinking now is, just because it happened in my house does not mean it's not happening in someone else's house. So when my mom used to tell me that, I used to, kind of be disrespectful and still tell my cousin, this is what we're going through. What are y'all doing? We're communicating, we're talking, because my mom's perspective may be different from somebody else's perspective, because this is her upbringing. Yes. But I say that to all to say is, it starts with the mind. Changing starts with the mind. Being free starts with the mind. Being liberated starts with the mind. Being whole, being healed, being your true, authentic self starts with the mind. So until you change your mind, don't try to change anything else, because you got to change yourself first.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. Trudy, I'm going to come to you in just a second, but before I go there, I want to say this. Oh my gosh, we have said so many yummy things, and I want to let everyone know that the replay, yes, it's going to be available. I encourage you that if you have communities, that you email this replay out to them, that you let them know that you gave yourself permission to sit in a space to discover something new about realities that you had not known before. I also want to say that if you would like to garner access to the self accountability tool for entrepreneurs who are embracing a new model of leadership, I have written one. And I wrote this because I realized after the second year that George Floyd was publicly executed online, white influencers started getting slaughtered. And you're not posting enough. You're not saying the right thing. You don't know what to do. You don't care. And I realized, okay, maybe we need a tool to help us keep caring. And I'm one of those people that just comes with grace on grace. Sometimes Trudy be rolling her eyes at me like, girl, that's a whole lot of grace. You over there writing tools and doing this thing and doing that. And it's a beautiful little part of, I guess I would say, like a little part of the way that I like to show up in the world. And I want to encourage you that if you feel like you made accountability statements to yourself, to your world, to your village, to your community, and you lost track of that. You lost track of, I want to be a pioneer for new consciousness. I want to change the game. I want to stand up on centering Blackness, or whatever it is that is meaningful for you. Download this tool because it helps you take a look with grace and with softness to yourself. In addition to that, we're going to be sharing some other tools later in the week through that same access. So where do you download it? You go to, I love this URL. You guys haven't heard this URL yet, but it's www.belongingwithlove.com. belongingwithlove.com. And you're going to gain access to Trudy's written an amazing article. Makosi Jakari, I would love if you all want to add a resource into that bundle that they're going to receive. But if you download it today at belongingwithlove.com, it will instantly give you access to the accountability tool. And then on Friday, at the end of this week, we're going to send you a yummy little bundle that's absolutely free. And it has the Juneteenth playlist off Spotify, which is going to be so fun. It has access to the accountability tool, again, which you gain access immediately. Trudy's article, which is absolutely brilliant. And my interview that goes over the 3 universal laws of what it looks like to center on Blackness with safety, to bring that inclusion into your space as a Black person and as a non-Black person. So, Trudy, I want to talk to you about this conversation of liberation. I watched you. Was it last year or was it at the beginning of this year that I watched your TEDx talk? Was it at the end of the year?
Oh, it was in December. Yeah.
It was in December. So in December, I watched you facilitate your TEDx talk. Scott, if you can keep me and Trudy up, that'll be great. I watched you facilitate your TEDx talk. It was brilliant. You shut the spot down and you had this, and I thought it was really great that here we are, 2 Black girls, grew up the way we grew up. We leave from you stepping on the TEDx, shutting it down. We go to our rooms at the Four Seasons Hotel. And we sit by a fire and have our dining table had a fire pit in the center. It was so amazing. We acted up all night long. Black girls doing their Black girl magic, living literally living our ancestors' wildest dreams in so many ways. But in that talk, you have a different take on liberation, and that if liberation continues to be our pursuit, that's not going to keep working for us. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so the idea, I spent a lot of time thinking about, how we get there from here, essentially, right? Like always thinking about what are the actual moves that we need to take to build a world where that is equitable, right? That where people are representative, and ultimately for me, where people's identities, their race, their zip code, their ability, all of the components of their identity are no longer statistical indicators of their life outcomes. I want to make sure that that is very clear to people. Anti-racism work is not about making nicer white people, right? It's not about teaching people the right thing or the wrong thing to say.
Say
It's
that
act
again, because I think
Yeah.
that's what people really think is that we're looking for
Yes.
people to be nice and we
No.
want to tidy it up, but that's not really what we're going for. What are we going for?
No, I mean, yeah, like be nice, right? Because that's just like the not the right thing.
Well, be
But that is
kind.
not right.
Be
Be
kind.
kind.
Kind is
Yes,
really
exactly.
is the ethical
Yes.
alignment of nice.
Exactly. So be kind, but that is not the purpose, right, of diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism work. The purpose or the goal that we're actually looking for is to disconnect people's life outcomes from their identities. Because once that happens, the reason that that happens is because it is systemic, right? Because oppression is systemic.
Oh, wait, break that down, Trudy. Break that down.
Okay.
Your identity is, if your identity is connected to your outcome, then
Right. So right now we live in a world where people's life outcomes, how much education they might have, what kind of health issues they might have, whether or not they finish high school or get married or how many children all of these life outcomes are statistically predictable by race and zip code. That is a systemic flaw. The way that the fact that that is the case means that it is by design, because there is nothing inherently different about Black and brown folks that would cause them to have different life outcomes naturally. It is not natural. It is all by design. So
mm,
anti-racism work and anti-oppression work is about dismantling the system, right? That allows that to be true. And so the way we dismantle it is, to Jakari's point, some of it is internal, some of it is about your mind and how you are and like how you be in the world. Some of it is about how we like relate to each other as humans. Some of it is about the policies that we decide that we want to enforce. And some of it is about the things that we believe are true, like ideologically. And so if we're going to change the world, we have to change all of those things. And so that is essentially what I'm talking about in that TEDx talk. I'm thinking about what a model that has been historically taught as the eyes of oppression really transforming into looking at how our social ecology, our ideas, our institutions, our interpersonal relationships, and our intrapersonal relationships, how those things reinforce the system we have, and looking at those things is how we have to undo it.
I love you for saying that because geography matters because of access. And I remember watching the Ron Artest documentary. And one of the things that they talked about in that documentary, for anyone who doesn't know who Ron Artest is, he played in the NBA. And he was so deeply traumatized that when he signed his NBA deal, he did not understand that he was going to make a lot of money. He actually would leave NBA practice and go work like at Burger King afterwards. And the trauma was so deeply reinforced because in the projects, which is a lower income housing situation in North America, the doors were placed inches apart to produce insanity. It was literally designed to
Yeah.
produce insanity among Black and brown people specifically. And
Right.
so when we say that Black people or brown people, that people in general should just get over it and that their mindset should solve for something, I like the way Jakari said it greater, which is that it starts on the inside, which means it's this microcosm of all of you has to get on the bus that change is possible. And Makosi, when you hear conversations like what Trudy and I, this dialogue and this kind of rigor and this systemic evil that continues to perpetuate itself, how do humans? One question I want to ask you is, to someone listening to this going, what? Oh my God, that sounds horrible. What do they do with those thoughts, feelings, emotions? And then for someone that's listening going, I want to take some of the time that I have in my own world and start making a difference. You really know how to teach us energetics. We can go on the streets and we can start marching and we can start doing that thing. And also, is there an energetic way that we can start to be responsible and responsive to these systemic knowings that we are all starting to really figure out are in place in this three-dimensional reality?
Usually, our first instinct when we become aware of an injustice, of a systemic problem, these collective and individual traumas, our first instinct is to fight, to go against what we have experienced. And there is a time and a place for that. However, what we don't realize is that when we do that, we do tend to grow that thing. Because whatever we focus our energy on,
Ooh, wait a minute.
grows.
Take a beat, girl. Take a beat, because that's sexy. That is honest and that's real. Can you just wind that statement up one more time before you dive in?
Yeah, I'm going to flip it and reverse it. Like Missy Elliott said.
Bring it.
Our first instinct when we become aware of these injustices, when we become aware of our own traumas and how that's manifested in our reality, our first instinct is fight, right? That's a survival mechanism of being a human. Fight, flight, or fawn. Fawn was a particular one of my own. And what we don't realize when we do this is that very often we end up growing the very thing that we are trying to fight. So, from an energetic perspective, and this is probably an unpopular opinion in certain spaces, but we don't have to be saviors. In fact, for the Black community, at least from my perspective, white saviorism is one of the worst and most dangerous things that we've experienced as African Americans, but also as Black people of all sorts of ethnicities and different cultures all over the world. That is an incredible issue. But when we focus on actually creating a better option, actually creating, like what we're doing here right now, actually creating what it is that we want to see, to Trudy's incredible examples, the businesses that run well with diversity, equity, and inclusion just built into the DNA, instead of spending all of our time and energy fighting for other businesses to increase their diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not to say that that's not valuable, but also beginning to create what it is that we want to see. Now, that is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I do believe that we can all do that in our small ways. And I love to talk about money. So I'm going to talk about really utilizing the tool of money. Every time we spend our money, we are voting for the reality that we want to see. And we can use and wield that tool in order to vote for better options, better opportunities, better businesses, better education, so on and so forth. And I mean us as the ones who have awakened. Those of us who have knowledge, it starts with us. We have that responsibility to do that.
Define that for
And
us. Define what is an awakened human. And a, you know, because somebody could go, oh, she's not talking about me, but I would say an awakened human is sitting on this live stream. An awakened human is playing curious. Like, what is awakened to you?
I love that question. Awakened to me is someone who is able to question, first and foremost, able to question, period.
Mm-hmm.
They are also someone who is able to see beyond their own microscopic, tiny one individual life and be able to look at the greater patterns that are showing up and be able to empathize with others of how they might have gotten to where they are. And I see more and more people are able to get out of the survival mode, because it really does require not being in survival mode to be able to start asking some of these questions. And more people are waking up to, hey, there is more to being human than just what am I going to eat today? How am I going to pay this next bill? So on and so forth. That's not to demonize those who haven't yet awakened, because they are in very real problems. And this is where I, really just people get on my nerves, especially in the spiritual space, because they want to
Not
act
people
like
get on your nerves.
listen, Linda, listen. Like, no, that is literally people's reality. And it's not our job to force them or put responsibility on them. That's really for those of us who have been able to come out of that survival mode, to become aware of, oh wow, there's an entire world out here. But it does require asking those uncomfortable questions of ourselves and of others, of the systems that we find ourselves in, the businesses that we support, and I mean, on and on and on.
On and on. That's so good. And I took a couple of notes while you were sharing. So there's a few things I want to summarize from Jakari and Trudy and Makosi. By the way, inside of the description, you can see each and every one of our websites. So if you have never been introduced to our body of work before, the way that we contribute, the way that we serve societally, I invite you to follow us to learn more about us. For those of you that are loyal members of our tribe and you came to show your support, we celebrate you. Thank you so much. We're so grateful that you're here. We're not done. I'm just kind of doing a little, summary thing. I'm learning how to be a host. So, am I doing a good job with the summary? Was that my niece is a host, and so she's sitting in here giving me some good energy. So there's a few things that came through. One thing that came through was stop being a savior. Regardless of how you identify, stop. That energy goes where energy flows. And so if you decide that you're going to be a savior, then that burden is going to stay on you. No one ever tells the savior to stop saving them. They will receive it every single time. What also came through is be courageous enough to ask questions and to play curious. To give yourself permission to challenge the status quo, you've got to start with asking questions. Let's see. I love that. One of the things that Trudy was sharing, hold on, let me go to my notes. I told y'all before y'all got on here, I was going to be taking all these notes now. So y'all know I am the perpetual note taker. here's something that was really interesting that I thought about what Trudy was saying, that we can't we can't find ourselves getting weary when we are starting a new, is the word fight. I don't want to use the word fight because Makosi said let's not fight. Let's see, Trudy, what's the word for you
I
for
mean, I'll
your
fight.
part of
We can fight. Sometimes we got to fight. Everybody got their role in the movement, okay?
Trudy said everybody got their role in the movement. So Makosi is going to be lighting Palo Santo in the back doing ohms. Trudy is going to be on the front line. Jakari just learning how to cook, so he going to be making sure we eating good. I don't know, Jakari, you cook with too much cheese for an over 40-year-old. Like,
so hold on. So you just mentioned cooking, and I wanted to say something going back to what my good sister just said, and she was
not
just
good
saying.
sister. Jakari, you be acting 50. It is, you said my good
But no. Listen. This is a good point when
Okay.
it comes to awakening, because I was stuck. I don't know if you see me behind the scenes, but I was just like, wow, you brought it today, because I remember growing up, and I hear a lot of people in the church say today, "Oh, God gonna supply," or He gonna, "Oh, I'm short on money," or "God gonna supply," or "You don't got enough money to buy food," or "God gonna provide the food." Yes, God will provide, but you have to do your part too. And it starts with developing the mind. And that's what, in my experience growing up, a lot of my family, always, "Oh, God gonna supply. Oh, Lord, I don't got money for light bill, but God gonna supply." But I always say, yeah, He gonna supply, but what are you gonna do? And that's called being free. You have to free yourself from that old mindset as well. And when you talk about, because you see, like talking about money, I love talking about money in business too, because people say money is the root of all evil, but what is being broke? Because I don't think nobody like being. I don't think nobody like being broke.
That feels very devilish to me. Feels very much like, I'm angry, I'm broke.
but I have a great relationship with God and things of that nature, but I am a firm believer that we were not birthed, created, invented in this world to be broke, to be begging,
or broken,
to be or broken. Ooh, that's good. And I really believe we're here to thrive. So when I hear people say, "Ooh, I live paycheck to paycheck," like Allison, you told me when we was in Las Vegas, you don't gotta live no paycheck to paycheck. You decide what you want to do. And it starts developing with the mind. And when it goes back to being the change. So that's what I wanted to say. But I can cook. I might cook some collard greens and cornbread, like my good sister Fantasia say, collard greens and cornbread.
You and that good sister. Oh my gosh. I love that you all brought up this topic of money, because I'm going to round us out at the topic of money. Nobody rush. Do not rush this conversation at all. Be with it. And then after that, I want to go back around and kind of get messages from each and every one of us. But there was something that I was listening to about Juneteenth as I was preparing for this. And I just wanted Juneteenth in my blood. I wanted to activate what I know, but I don't know. And one of the things that blew my mind, oh my God, just the energy getting ready to say it. So in 1863, Emancipation Proclamation, right, that's declared. Takes a couple of years for that to go through. People think that on Juneteenth, 1865, that when it was finally figured out we are free, that Black people were singing and dancing. Like, woo, we're free. No, they had nowhere to go. Right. And not only did they not have anywhere to go, they were told that your best next step was to work for your master, your slave master. And then they made a collective as slave masters on the mediocre amount of money that they would give to these Black humans working for them. So they're free, but they have no money, they have no shelter, and it is illegal for them to own a house. And it was also illegal. This was the part that got me today. I didn't know this. It was illegal for them to be idle. So if you saw a Black person drinking a bottle of water, well, there was no bottle of water at the time, but if you saw a Black person like just sitting down, they went to prison. That rest was not allowed at all at any given time. And if you were found resting, that was considered idle, and thereby you were warranted that you were meant to go to prison. In addition to that, what I also discovered is that the military came in and said, oh, this is so great. Now that you're not a slave, you can be in the military. Oh, but we're only going to pay you pennies. And oh, by the way, if you don't say yes, you are considered a traitor and you will die. And your family most likely could be connected to those deaths as well. So when we talk about the conversation of money and Blackness, this is so dark and so twisted here with all the shadows that are mixed in that. Trudy, as you hear me kind of talk about some of these divisive historical facts, they are true. And when you hear me talk about that and this concept around money, liberation, freedom in 2023, I hope those of you that are listening are understanding why Black humans in this country have had such a difficult start to be able to create lasting legacies, owning properties, building companies, starting movements, and feeling the permission within ourselves to do it and to feel safe to do it. Trudy, what do you have to say?
Man, there's so many things that brought up. So one, I'll say that, I also want to add that not only were people, these former enslaved people asked to work for their previous owners, but also many people were being asked to just straight up leave the country, right? Like the intention behind this was not because white people were being nice and they're like, you know what, slavery is really wrong, let's free everyone. It was because they wanted people out. They envisioned a world where Black folks would return back to Africa or go to other places or settle in settlements like indigenous Americans were, like on reservations, right? So there were all these ideas for what to do with people, and none of them were about freedom or equity or
love.
or empowerment or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. The other thing I want to say is that this is a perfect example of how, like, just because a policy is made, people's minds don't change, right? The Emancipation Proclamation was signed, but that didn't change people's hearts and minds. It didn't make people say, oh, you know what? Now we feel so much better. Policy is different than how we treat each other, is different than how we think and feel about each other. This is just further reinforcement that this work is multi-layered and multi-leveled. And then the last thing I want to say is that this money, and not just back in the 1800s, but it wasn't even until the 60s, right? Where the 1960s, where there were actual policies about work and equal access and equal opportunity. And those laws are being looked at to be changed today in 2023. Right now, the Supreme Court is reconsidering and re-arguing affirmative action. That is happening today, right? So the diligence that we need to keep, right, to be paying attention to these issues, they are not resolved. They are ongoing, right? We need to be on top of it. And that is why, it is particularly in an era where we're going into another political season and we have an entire political party whose platform is essentially anti-wokeness, which is anti-Black, anti-trans, anti-everything progressive, right? That there is an entire movement behind that. These are the things that cause people who are unsure about where they stand and who are uncertain about the history to withdraw from the conversations. And I cannot let us end this call without calling that out directly and really inviting people to consider, if you're feeling like that that is actually a sign to lean in, to get help. Because what the conservative right wants you to do is to opt out. They want everyone who's unsure to be quiet, and they want to activate everybody who has those extreme views.
Oh, that's so good to say that, because it's very easy to think you can't move the needle. It's very
Yeah.
easy to think like we're done, it's over. And it's really funny. Scott, can you put us all on the screen? It's really funny. Today I was leaving and I was guided to pick up this razor. And I was like, why am I guided to pick up this razor? And, I've not had my legs lasered. That's an issue for African Americans. If you didn't know, we can't get lasered. It burns our skin. So let's fight for that. But no, I picked this up and I thought to myself, every other day, I've got to use this razor in the shower. And at no point do I look at the razor and go, dang it, there's hair again. Oh, it's a part of the process if I'm going to keep on living until I just don't mind hair on my legs. So I thought about this and I brought this because I realized we can often get overwhelmed thinking, are we still talking about racism? Is it not done? No, not done. Not done. And so when I picked this up, I walked over to my nightstand to get something else. And this is my sleep mask that I sleep with at night. And I realized that it's very easy to put a mask on. It's very easy to cover our eyes and to pretend that we don't see, that we don't know. But we do see and we do know because we feel it in our guts. We are frequency first. We are humans, way down the line. So we feel the frequency, but we don't know how to hold change and we don't know how to inspire progress. And it begins one step at a time, not with one big whole movement. It doesn't come out of the gate. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. And this to me feels like power because it's my choice. But our ancestors didn't have these choices. We had a choice whether we wanted to get on this live stream. We had a choice to utilize our privilege and to utilize our voices. And like Trudy said, the matrix, the third dimensional realm, wants to get more and more and more divided. But it takes conversations like this that pull us in together, which brings me my last prop. Y'all know I had to go in there and get my Spanx out. I had to pull out my little Spanx. And why did I pull this out? Because I realized, I said, it's conversations like this that pull us in, that hold us accountable, that keep us responsible and say, no, get back in here. We're still talking about this. Get back in here. We're still solving this. Get back in here. No. We're still making progress together. And so I'm so deeply grateful that you all are so willing to jump into the fire here because we are saying some very unpopular opinions. And we're also saying them through the lens of love and through the lens of unity, which can sometimes be unpopular as well. Jakari, what's moving through you as you're hearing this conversation? And I also want you to tap onto the point where you continue to say that slavery in America is not dead. And I want you to have that spotlight moment to speak that truth. And I want to say this. I need you to talk long enough for me to run to go to the restroom because I've almost finished this water. So you've been on CNN, NPR, all the thing. I need you to not give us sound bites. Going right into the point. And then if I'm not back, y'all, I need y'all to jump in and be with him.
Keep it going.
Okay. Cool.
We can keep it going. Allison is one of a kind, I tell you all. So When I say slavery has never been fully abolished in the U.S., I always think back to this number, and it's 86 cents per day. And when I say slavery has never been abolished in the U.S., it's because with the exception of the 13th Amendment, was a concession to slave states that allowed slavery to continue through the prison system. And today, this very day, in years ago, but to this day, incarcerated people are faced with working for correctional agencies, state-owned corporations, private-owned corporations, making little to nothing at all. And with it's an average of 86 per day. And and that tells me that incarcerated people are often referred, or they are referred, as property of the state, which means they are really not free. And I get it. And people always say, well, they did something to be in jail. Yes. But at the same time, they are human. And just because you are human does not mean you take that the people who are over it takes control or make it seem as if they are enslavement mentality, because that's not the case. We're still human. And I'm a firm believer that, if you're in prison for 20, 30 years and you working, busting your ass, but busting your behind every single day, it is still not right to be getting paid up to 80 cents per day or less or nothing at all. I mean, we are here, people who are not in prison or not in jail, or who've never been behind the bars. We have states here in the US that people minimum wage. And,
Yes.
and I get it. Oh, find a new job. Well, it's hard. It's hard to find a new job. So when people are still making $6.25 an hour, and the government expects those individuals to live off of that, when you have rent here in Houston average $1,700 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, are we really free? Are we really free? But I think you missed it, Allison, when I was speaking about incarcerated people, our brothers and sisters that's incarcerated. And we don't condone any bad things that people have done, but it's the fact that we are human. And when those folks are released, freed from the bars, the jail, they have to walk into a world that is new to them. And it's just not right that they get paid 80 cents a day or less or nothing at all. So when I say we're really not free,
Or
that's
nothing at all. And
or
and by the way, for those of you who don't know, sometimes when you're calling to talk about your phone bill, you're talking to a prisoner. Sometimes when you're calling to talk about, like, when you are calling customer service lines, you are very often talking to a prisoner and you don't even know it. And instead of them paying someone out in society $15, $18 an hour for an administrative job, they are now paying a prison worker like $1.
they're getting taken advantage of. And like I said, I don't, we are all imperfect people. We're actually imperfect people in a perfect world with real issues, but we still can change the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I had to say.
Allison, I think it's really important to name too that, like, it's not just like the prison population in the United States in particular is vastly overblown, right? So it's not even enough to say, oh, well, people did things, and a
Break
lot of
that
people
down
are
when you
doing.
say overblown.
Yeah, so despite having 4.2 of the world's population, total population in the United States, we have 20% of the incarcerated population of the world. Okay, so that is, again, remember when I talked about identity and life outcomes, identity being that you are a United States, that you live in the United States, right? So that is an identity factor that can be statistically connected to this population, to the population of prison. And that's across the board. That's across race. We have more It's a disproportionate amount of prisoners in the United States. But we also know that people aren't predisposed to more bad behavior because they live in the United States. It is because our policies allow us to over police, to criminalize behavior that typically wouldn't be able to be, prosecuted or jailed, again, by design. And that you wouldn't see that in other countries. You wouldn't see that in some spaces of the world. It's the reason why you see disproportionate amounts, or in some places, people are let off the hook for crimes that they're committed. And in other places, like the smallest little thing can put you behind bars, right? And there's just and we're talking kids and adults. This is happening to everyone, and disproportionately impacting Black and brown folks. So it's really important to remember that these people are being straight up exploited, and that we as a country are invested in keeping people in prison because we profit from it.
Yep, I needed to let that breathe. That is real. That is real. To our audience that is live right now, do you have a question for us? If you do, we're looking at the comment section. Please feel free to drop a question. We'd love to be able to answer that for you. To everyone that is listening, whether you're on the replay or you're live right now, I want to encourage you to go to Belonging with Love, www.belongingwithlove.com. And this is where we have a self-accountability tool that supports you to really tap into going beyond inclusion and stepping into belonging, that we all belong. It's bigger than mattering. We belong. And there's equity at stake here, right? Like equality, that's a better word. There's equality that we're having the conversation about. We started this because of Juneteenth, and I want to give honor to June 19th for existing, to June 19th for creating the privileges that we live today. And we still have so much more that we have yet to tap into, that we have yet to co-create access to. And that's why we're here building a movement. We have to be unafraid to be the first to go. But most of us don't want to be the first because that means we're getting the hit. And so before we sign off today, I want to ask you, Makosi, I want to ask you, Jakari, I want to ask you, Trudy, what is that last message that you want to leave in this stream? Because it's not the last time you're ever going to speak online, right? It's not that. It's just the last time that we're in this forum together. And what is that consciousness that you want to leave as your mark for this audience, as your contribution? While you all are thinking about that, I want to remind you of some things that they've already shared with you. One, consciousness is an assignment. I can't remember who said that because I didn't write the note of who said it, but it's so brilliant to know that consciousness is not something that we go in and out of. It's our responsibility to stay conscious, to stay present, and to live a life that is not too full, not too overwhelmed, not too overextended, that we cannot be there for others that matter. If you have no space, no capacity at all to be a change maker for your brother or sister out in this outer world reality, then that is the first step, is to lighten the load that rests on your shoulders so that you can have more space in your heart to be of service, in service, and of contribution for others that need you. Makosi, what's your sign off for today, my friend?
Yeah. The thing that really is on my heart right now, I brought up the concept of saviorism, which so many of us have been indoctrinated from childhood. Most of us growing up in religious spaces where the idea is that we have a responsibility to save one another. And I would just invite that each and every person watching invite themselves to ask, how can I be like the creator? How can I be a creator? How can I create opportunities for others to help themselves? Instead of how can I go and save these people? Because what we don't understand is that when we come from that lens of saviorism, we end up perpetuating supremacy. That is a supremacy ideology, to think that because I'm in whatever circumstances I'm up here, let me take pity on you, instead of looking at, no, yes, you have had certain statistics and traumas and challenges in your life. How do we create opportunities for people to, regardless of their identity, be in power, find their freedom to be able to create the life that they deserve because they breathe. They deserve because they breathe.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Thank you for bringing humanity so beautifully into the dialogue. They deserve because they breathe. How can you be a creator in your reality, not a savior? Girl, you it has been brought in. It has been brought in. I love your reflection on that. Great question in from the healing couple out of San Diego, Jess and Corey. They say, love this conversation around the privatization of and profiting off of the prison system of Black and Brown folks. Are there some key factors that need to occur in order to break this system down? Trudy, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so what happens at the prison system is really at the state level for the most part. So my suggestion to anyone who feels really activated around prison reform is to find out what's happening in your local community, your local districts. There are definitely, especially if you're in any city in the United States, there are definitely groups who are already organizing around those things. So find out who's organizing around prison reform or abolition work in your local community and link up with them. And then it's a matter of lobbying your representatives and helping to write policies potentially, and voting for sure, like at the city level, at the state level, and certainly at the national level. So be paying attention. I know it's really easy for those of us who work and kind of live online to disconnect from our local communities, but that is where the experiences of these policies is coming into play, like for people, right? At the government level in Washington, we're thinking about ideas, but it is in communities where people are having the experience of these policies. So get activated in your local community, find out what's going on, and get on board.
Trudy, before you say your sign-off statement, everyone doesn't know that you are a lyricist.
And it wasn't supposed to know that.
Trudy said, didn't you hear Jakari say what happened at the house? Keep it at the house.
See, that's why you can't hang out with people and then do work with them, because they know too much.
Trudy, we need a little bit of
what? No,
yes.
we cannot
Trudy,
today.
you gotta rap a little something, Trudy. You are so good. Y'all, I saw this woman transform at a party, and she was like, yeah, so before I went DEI, I was gonna be
I was gonna be a hip hop artist. That is true.
And before
I'm
you
here
got
for it.
all the educations and certifications and created the what's the name of your beautiful school that you just started that people
Yeah.
can donate to and provide access?
Yes, the Institute for Equity Centered Coaching is
Woo! So good. Say it
Yeah.
again. Say it again. Say it again.
Thank you. So I'm the founder and CEO of the Institute for Equity Centered Coaching. We have been certifying coaches and leaders in equity centered practice for the last 2 years, and we are rolling out a professional association for people who don't necessarily need to be certified or don't identify as coaches, or maybe some who do but want to stay really connected to their practice of equity, because equity is not a theoretical concept. I mean, although there's a part of it that is, but it is a practice, things that we have to do. And so definitely the best place to find out more is to get on Find me on Instagram, get on the wait list for the
Well,
exchange.
We'll send it with
Oh,
the
yeah, that's what I was gonna send it.
if you go to www.belongingwithlove.com, because right now you have an opportunity to become a founding member for just $1,000, and then it gives access, right? Because
Yes.
you told me when I become a founding member, I then give access to others.
Yes, we are going to be able to provide annual memberships, which will include monthly professional development and training opportunities for people for only $197 for the year.
This is so amazing. So, for those of you that are listening, if you're a high ticket coach and you've been wondering about accessibility for your own pricing, if you're not feeling guided for your own accessibility, then provide it through Trudy's program, because she is feeling guided for accessibility. And so she has a really great, like the way that you've written that and set that up. You sent it to me this weekend. You know, I will cry in a heartbeat. And I'm like, Trudy, this is so amazing. Like, you're just so brilliant. And I think it's such a phenomenal way to be a stand for what you know needs to be solved in this industry. Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Big
Yes.
respect to you for that, girl.
Thank
Now,
you. So if
when you
anyone's
wrap-
interested, they should
Oh.
reach out to me. I thought she was gonna forget.
No. If you
Hey,
go to
wait, I have a quick question.
belongingwithlove.com, I'll send you the link for Trudy. Yes, Makosi.
Yeah, my question is, if they sign up on Belonging with Love, will they also get Trudy's mixtape?
Oh.
I just need to know.
Oh.
See, now y'all,
Come on, Trudy, I'm a beatbox for you.
get out.
Let me go. Are you on YouTube? I need to find it.
I'm not. I don't. She is going all the way back. All the way back. Before you, I'm old, y'all. Like I was making tapes. Okay, you put the little tape over the cassette. You gotta tape it and put it in and hit record. You know that's I'm.
Okay, now. Okay, we in 2023.
My oldest child is 26 years old. Okay.
Okay, now that you've said all of those things, just give us a little piece, like 5 seconds.
Black
Like 5
don't
seconds.
crack.
That's
Okay,
right.
let me
Say
see what I got for you. I can't believe that I'm actually considering this. All right, ready?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Trudy. It's really nice to meet you. I know you think you know me, but please trust that's just a feature. A feature, yeah, a function of this time with social media. See, what you know is only just the food that I do feed you. I feed you because I need you to survive. Survival of this world and all its people on my mind and on my heart and on my soul and on my chest and on my spirit. And my pride is wrapped up in the thought that somehow I was supposed to help us thrive.
Yes!
Yes.
I'm here for
drop.
it.
Razor drop. I'm
Stop!
Yes, God. Yes.
Y'all.
Scott for the win. I love it. I love it. Where's your record label deal? We need it.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
That was so great, Trudy. What a blessing. Oh my God, I love your creativity. Jakari. Oh, wait, no, not Jakari yet. Trudy, you're going to do a sign off, your last statement.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I think what I want to say to kind of wrap this up is to remind people that freedom is a practice and it is also something that occurs within a community. So there is all this effort right now for rest and personal freedom and personal liberation. And those things are super important. And I want everybody to have all of that. And I want us to remember that it doesn't stop there. We have all these great thinkers, including Audre Lorde and Paulo Freire, people who have done major thinkers and contributors to our anti-racist practice and anti-oppression practice. And they remind us that freedom is about becoming more human and being able to express ourselves and be and achieve this purpose of greater humanity. That is what our leaders, our thinkers have told us freedom is about. And it's not about just being able to do whatever you want. It's about all of us collectively becoming more human. And if we use that as our guidepost, I think it invites us to make different decisions about how we move in this world.
Oh, thank you for that. Becoming more human. The answer to that is yes, yes, and yes. By the way, when you go to www.belongingwithlove.com, after this week, we send you an opt-out. So our goal is not to garner a bunch of emails. Our goal is to be in service. So I want to say to everyone listening, freedom, liberation, everything that we're talking about is a process and a practice, just like Trudy just said. And if you want these resources and tools, you can go and grab them. And no one's trying to garner anything. Everybody's just trying to give to you and help you perceive and see a new way so that your outer world reality can blossom in such a way that you live, eat, and breathe magic and miracles. And as a reflection, you live, eat, and breathe that onto others. And that's how we begin to create transformation and progress in a very healthy and conscious way. And so I'm very grateful for how honest and rigorous this conversation has been. Jakari, how would you like to send our gorgeous humans on their way today?
No, this evening has just been so beautiful. It's been so amazing. There's many things I can say, but what I have to say in this moment is make sure you show up for yourself. There's so much going on within our world, within our lives, within our families, and sometimes we forget about our own self and we worry about everything else. But if you don't have yourself, if you don't have your mind, your heart, your soul, you really don't have anything. And with that, when showing up for yourself, make sure you're showing up for yourself doing your piece of the puzzle. And it's reflecting back on what we were saying earlier and how everyone has a different job. You can't be a marcher, you can't be a fighter, can't be a protester, can't be the policymaker, can't be the amazing coach or all that stuff, but do your part. Because without you, we're going to be missing something. And in the wise, amazing words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, just keep moving forward. I believe in you. Thank you.
So good. Thank you so much for that. To each and every person that's listening, as I sign off today, I'm reminded of the story of the little engine that could. And in that story, there's an engine that has this uh, responsibility, depending on which version of the story you read. But the most common story is that the engine is taking some toys to some children in need, right? You all have read that story. And the engine breaks down on the way. And while he's there waiting, I'm sure, like many of us, praying, like, "Oh, I've got this mission. I've got this thing. I got to get this to these kids." So then a fancy train comes by, and the engine is like, "Hey," tooting his horn, like, "Hey, help me, help me!" And the fancy engine says, "I'm sorry. What? Like, I could never help you." Like, just has this snobby, horrible attitude. And the engine is looking up to this train like, "You're stronger, you're more beautiful." And that train was snobby, like, "No, I can't attach myself to anything like you." And the train goes. So the engine's sitting there going, "What am I going to do now?" And another engine comes by, and this time this engine is just dilapidated, like not really secure, and is scared of the little engine that's broken down. And the engine, y'all remember this story? And the engine goes, "Toot, toot," like, "Help me, help me." And the second engine goes, "Oh, I could never help you. I'm not good enough. I mean, look at me. What are you going to attach yourself to?" And the little engine that was broken down was like, "Well, I think if we connect ourselves, I think we can do it." And that insecure train said, "Oh, I can't." And like literally, if a train could run, the train ran. So the little engine is sitting there going, "I will not be stopped. There has to be someone or something that can help me." And right around that time, here comes this like, it reminds me of my mother's old car. You could smell it, you could hear it before it ever got to you. It was like falling apart. And here comes this last, not a train, it's another engine. And the engine asks the best question. looking at the engine that was broken down, because the engine goes, I'm broken down, and this train came and this train came, and is there any way that you can help me? And the engine says, well, tell me what you're going to go do. That engine asked the smartest question, because it asked, what's your purpose? And the little engine that was broken down said, I've got this mission. These children are waiting on these toys. And the other engine says, wait. Somebody's waiting on freedom. Somebody's waiting on joy. Somebody's waiting on their next love. You're connected to something bigger than yourself. We're going to have to figure this out. And the book says, I almost said the Bible says, but it's the book. It's not a Bible. And the Bible of the little engine that oh my God, that was such a Black moment. That was such a Black moment. And so the book says that they hitched their wagons together and they used a mantra to bring their energies, to stir their power. And what was the mantra? I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Yes. And it was this force of unity, of togetherness that was rooted in what's your purpose? And so I want to say to everyone that's listening, before you count yourself out, count your purpose in, because your purpose is the magnet. See, I imagine that engine felt very defeated. Like, well, the first train judged me. The second train felt insecure and inadequate. What is to do next? Is anyone going to come and help me? The answer is always yes, when you're clear on why you exist. So this conversation was about, how do we become more clear about why we exist beyond the four walls of our homes, beyond the four walls of our business visions, beyond the day-to-day that we live? Can we effectuate change? Can we move the needle on progress? And can we dare to believe that we don't have to do it alone? And so I'm so happy and grateful to you, my brother, my sisters in this path. We all have very different, unique relationships, but we came together today, unified on the playing field called love. And I think we did a good job. How do you guys feel about it?
I concur.
Yeah, we did a good job. Yes.
We did it for sure.
It's the lip pop for me, Makosi. Trudy, how did we do?
I think we did great. We did a great job. Yes.
We did a great job. We did a great job. Yeah. Well, the last thing that I want to say before we sign off is that today has always been meaningful for me. I grew up as a little Black girl in Texas, and this day also took on a new meaning for me 8 years ago. Today is the 8-year anniversary of my mother's ascension. And my mother was the first demonstration of Blackness to me. And she showed me Black strength, Black fortitude, Black intelligence, Black power, Black grit, Black love, Black understanding, Black humanity, Black inclusion, Black faith. My mother taught and showed me so much. It's evident. Look who I am today. And so as we close this live stream, I want to honor my mother's existence. I want to honor my mother's legacy. I want to be grateful. I am grateful that belonging with love could not exist if she did not. And so I speak her name, my mother, Linda Carol Williams, who brought me into this world. And I wanted to give each and every one of you an opportunity to speak anyone's name that is no longer on this plane of earth, that without them, you would be a different version of yourself. So if anyone would like to speak the name of someone meaningful for them, I want to give you that opportunity now.
I'll start. My dad, death anniversary was yesterday. His 11th year death anniversary was yesterday. So his name is Charles Edward Williams. Thank you, Allison, for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Anyone else?
I'll go next.
Yeah.
Yeah. My father, Charles Lavelle Sweat,
Ooh,
made
that's a
his
real black
transition.
name.
Mhm.
That's black for real.
Lavelle.
Did you say Lavelle?
I sure
And the
did.
sweat.
Oh,
Yes.
Your daddy
It's-
was
it's-
blackity black, black, black.
It's somebody's Charles. Is my dad named Charles? Your dad named? I'm here for it.
And his rap name back in the 80s was Chillin' Chuck.
Of course it was.
Yes, Chillin' Chuck, we speak your name.
Oh, gosh. So good.
That is priceless. That is priceless, Makosi. Oh, God, that's amazing. Wow. Your dad, we speak his name. That's so beautiful. So his full name was Charles.
Charles Lavelle Sweat.
Oh, so gorgeous. Thank you for that.
Not
That
related
was
to Keith Sweat.
I was going to ask. I was going to
I was thinking that. I said, oh, Keith Sweat. Yes.
Oh my gosh. And Trudy.
Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Last week I got a chance to speak at my college's annual fundraiser. I was the recipient of a scholarship called the Women in Transition program. I was a teen mom. I had all these barriers and I was able to go to school essentially for free. And the school gave me a job and I worked under this woman named Dolores Bell. And Dolores passed away about a year ago. And I was probably, no more than 21 when I worked with her. And I remember her pulling me to the side one day after I had done a task for her a little sloppily, let me just say. Just because I was rushing, not intentionally. I was putting labels on envelopes to go out
Wait,
for
and
this.
Miss Dolores was black?
Oh, of course she was.
Oh, yeah. We couldn't do nothing sloppy.
No.
Yeah.
And so she pulled me to the side and said to me, this cannot go out like that. And I was like, what? It's just labels going out in the mail. And she was like, we cannot. People are already expecting us to not do this job well, right? I didn't grow up with a lot of mentoring. I didn't go to the best schools. I dropped out of high school. I didn't have the programs that taught you how to be in these professional settings. And she had to pull me to the side and give me a stern talking to. And even though in that moment I was a, 20-year-old, why you gotta be so serious? But let me
What
tell
were
you.
your moves with it?
Why everything gotta be so serious? My hair's falling. Y'all know what I'm saying. When you're 20 and you just want to go, right? But anyway, she held me accountable to that. And I have never forgotten that. And Dolores helped over 200 women since then graduate from that program. And I want to so Dolores Bell, I'm thinking about you today.
Oh, that's priceless. Well, we did it. We did it. We did a great job. We served. My heart is overflowing. I'm so happy. I want to invite everyone to go to belongingwithlove.com. We're going to put so many goodies for you together. Trudy's article is absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you all to read that. Whatever Makosi wants to sprinkle in there, whatever Jakari wants to sprinkle in there, it'll go out to you all on Friday. But if you go to www.belongingwithlove.com now, you can download the self-accountability tool and you'll get instant access to that. And then next week, we give you permission to come right off the list. So it literally is, you can get what you came for and then move on, hopefully effectuating change and co-creating beautiful progress along the way. Thank you, my sweet friends. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you for celebrating.
Yeah.
What a great time. What a great time. We did it. Our first one. I feel very accomplished. We did it. I love you all so much. Mwah.
All right, I'm going to eat some collard greens now. Collard greens.
Yes, Come on, collard greens. Come on, collard greens. Yes. All right, Scott, can we have a little bit of, I don't know, some send off music and a little
Out.
slide up? Yeah, something that, well, he can't really play anything that we would jam on because YouTube dings us.
The rules. Yeah, rules.
Yeah.
You know.
As long as it
Darn
has a
rules.
beat that Trudy can rap over.
How did I know that was coming? How did I know?
Oh,
Because we believe that you can be both.
we do believe that. Makosi has a brand new show on YouTube. Is it every Friday or every Sunday, Makosi?
These days it's coming out on Wednesdays.
On
And also the podcast Euphoric Evolution is out.
Okay. Well, they can hear you while you're still talking in the music. So Euphoric
Okay.
Evolution, the podcast, YouTube, all the things. All right. And inside the caption are all of our websites, so you can follow us. You can know all about us. And of course, you'll get all our details in the email. Body roll, body roll. Body roll, body roll. Oh. All right. I love you guys. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.